Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to join us for a demonstration of the Steel Detailer. My name's Michael Crawford. I'm the presenter for today and going forward. Just so that you know, there'll be another webinar this afternoon, exactly the same time at 8 o'clock, and this will happen every week. So for now, sit back and watch a demonstration. If you've got any questions, I've muted everybody because there's too many people online and we'll get scattered voices. So probably the best thing to do is to email us at support at thesteeldetailer.com and you'll be able to get your answers pretty much covered there. And basically, if there's a certain area that people want to cover, surely just ask and we'll certainly put it on a webinar so that you can get a better understanding of what it's all about. So I guess the first thing we do is when we kick off a project within TSD, we have to set up a system or a structure so that we can model and insert our models in there. Because TSD has an automated filing system, we just need to ensure that the setup pretty much is set up right. So first of all, let's just go through the process. Okay, under the TSD projects area, we actually have a new project tab. Alternatively, if you click on the startup wizard, under the startup wizard there's also create new project. If you click on the new project, it will bring in a feature manager page on the left hand side. Now I'm just going to drag that out. So under the feature manager page, we've got to put in our project details, and the project details are actually carried over into the drawing sheets at a certain stage which we call lockdown. It's not actually a lock process, it's like a final process of creating drawings. So I'm just going to run you through the initial settings of what actually goes into a project and how the project's created. This shouldn't take any more than 20 minutes, maybe to half an hour tops. So our project number obviously is what defines the project itself. We have a 4-digit code. We've had questions about trying to increase that. The reason for that is because we're working on DSTV CNC manufacturing, and there's actually a limit to the number of letters we can put in for our naming conventions. But we've seen abbreviated project codes go into drawings. So you might have 6 digits and the first 2 digits get dropped off and you pick up the last 4 digits, which works quite fine. Okay, so I'm just going to set up a project and we'll go through the process. Okay, so the first one I'm just going to put in is 1000. Your project number may be something completely different. The project client, I'm just going to put in the project client name. Now, some people have been caught putting lowercase descriptions in here. It all depends on how you want to present your information in your drawings, because this information does carry through onto the title block for you. So I'm just going to put in project client there. Project description, so I'll just put in project description so you can see this information. And project location, so we'll just put in project location 1. So obviously that can be say for instance if you've got a building on a site and this is the street address, or you've got a mine site where the actual mine is. So I'm just putting in information here so that in the future it will come into the drawings. Okay, and I'll just fill out that one as well. Okay, now we've come to what we call the WBS. Now in your projects there can be areas, say for instance if you're working on a mine site and there are different areas on the mine site. You might have a primary crushing area, or a conveyor, or a screening structure of some sort, or a tank area and so forth. Whereas with a building you could have say for instance multiple areas where people can work on those areas at individual areas. You could say have floor 1 or a floor 2 or a floor 3 in those different areas. Grids, so grid 1, 2 and 3. What we've set up is that there's a 2-digit code. By default what we do is we use letters, because if you use letters you've got 26 by 26 different combinations of areas. You can however use numbers, so 01, 02, 03, so forth. But in this instance we use AA because it allows us so many different multiple sort of areas. Now if you're working on a project that only has one area, then that's the area that you would log into, and we'll show you about logging in after we've created the project, and we'll show you what logging in does. Okay, so at the moment I'm just going to set up AA being the very first area for our project, and by default I'm going to call it global. This could be, if it's just a single building, you could call it building 1, and that would cover the area. The vault location is where you store your projects. Okay, so we're going to browse to that. So I'll just browse and look for a vault location. I've got different areas where I can work. I click on my TSD projects area and I keep all my projects in there. Alright, now the next 4 items on the list is where we pass information from TSD into the drawing sheets at lock stage. Not only does the information above get put into TSD, it also can be transferred across into your own drawings. So when you select your drawings, there's a mapping process, and that's what these next 4 are. It means that you can map the project number, description and so forth, and a location from TSD, which is the information we've just put in, and have it come across into your drawing sheets without having to change your drawing sheet. Okay, we're dealing with templates, drawing templates, and the information is about to be placed in. Basically what we've done in TSD is set up a folder so that there are 4 drawing templates ready to go. I'm going to use those for this demonstration. You can, however, use your own, but you'll also need to probably add a couple of extra fields just to make sure that you've got everything covered for revisions. But at this stage we're just going to go through and show you how to set up your templates. Okay. So under the GAs area, we have a couple of things that you should look at. The load from existing projects. So if you've already created a project and you've mapped across the fields into a drawing sheet, then you can actually just load those settings straight from the previous project, which will save you a lot of time. But if you've used a template that will require some work, you can come back and, however, update those templates. Any of these settings obviously can be updated because we've got the TSD project manager. So at the moment we're just going to start off from scratch, and I've got drawings, and I'll point you to the drawing templates, and we'll bring those in and we'll map the fields across so that you can see how it's done from the start. Alright, so what we need to do is just browse. When we browse, we go to C, the Steel Detailer. And in the Steel Detailer, we've actually got the drawing templates folder, and in here we've got 4 drawings. Okay. Now the 4 drawings are broken up obviously into GAs. Then we've got what we call a weldment member template, which a weldment member is a welded item with cleats and steel and everything hanging off that in one item. And then we have a member template, which is used for any steel sections isolated for detailing, and then obviously a plate template. In this instance, we're going to grab the GA template. Okay, and you'll notice that when I bring the GA template in, this is where the template fields are stored in the pull down and the combo, and these fields that you see here are the TSD mapping fields. That's what's in the database in TSD. So what we're going to do is just map the fields. So you can imagine that title 1 is the first title for your drawing sheet. Now because the drawing sheets that TSD has been created, that the actual names match. In your drawing sheet you may have different names, and you can just map them across so that they import the information from TSD into your drawing sheet. So all I'm going to do here is just click update, and you'll notice now there's a link, and when I go into the pull down menu, the combo menu, you'll notice that that's been added. So the link has now been made for the project. So I'm just going to go through the next one and click the next one and update that, and so forth until I get all the ones that I want to link. Okay, line 4. Line 4 can be what country it's in, and so forth. So they're just the descriptions that are being ported from above in the information that we've already filled in. The main rev is the main revision. Okay, so there's a bit of a revision control process apart with the drawings and the document manager. So we've also got a map across our main revision. So that sets up the GA so that the GA now can be populated with information. The weldment member drawing template and fields is the next one on the list. Now I've just gone through that process of linking all those. I can, however, go to a previous project, like I said before, and then just hit load, and that'll bring it in, and it'll automatically be linked. So if I scroll down, no, not in this instance. I didn't set it up to do that. However, we can go into another one that we might have done and load that one in. That one's done. So you can see that they're already linked, and you'll notice that there's a lesser amount of fields involved in this as well, because we've actually streamlined the database in the new version. Also too, we'll just go through the others and do the same process. Rather than mapping each one at a time, we'll just load them in. So we can go back into here and hit load, and that'll bring in those linked fields. So obviously the linked fields are going to be different if you have different drawings. Different drawings have different information, and that's the reason why we've got to deal with them all separately. So we'll just load that in as well. You can go back and switch these out so that they go back to their originals by hitting remove, and then relink them again if you accidentally link the wrong one. Our revision control is done by placing revisions in the custom properties as fields. The templates that you will see that we've got set up already have those built into them. With your drawing templates, you more than likely will have to match those ones. The reason for that is because we've got about 5 fields per revision control, and you can set up your table to do that within your drawing template. We still haven't set it up for SolidWorks revision tables. It's only just custom fields at this stage. So when we get down to the bottom, obviously we're going to create a project. Okay, so we hit create, and down the bottom it says complete. That means the project's been created. So just hit your tick and get out. Okay. When you fire up a property manager page and you don't have anything open, TSD will create a new part by default. You can close that off. Alright, so we've now created a project. If you go back into TSD projects, and under the project manager we have our new project in there which we've just created, and this is the information associated to that project. You can edit the project and go in and change the properties that have come through that you've just set up if you like. So if you've missed something, or something needs a bit more repair work, then you can go back and edit it. You might want to change the project description or something like that. Or the client's rung you up halfway through a project and he says that the name of the project has changed, something like that, which is certainly not uncommon. Okay, so that's how you can go back and change the project information after you've created it. So the next step is for us to start to create the structure that's available to you using TSD. So I suppose I should show you this so that you can see what this is all about. Okay, this is the filing system within TSD. At the moment, for this demonstration, you're only concerned about the top 2 levels. The top level is the project level, and this is the assembly for the top level. The area level, which is the bottom 3 in the red rectangular box, these 3 here are your areas. So for instance, you've broken it up. We've got an AA, an AB and an AC. If you remember, we put in AA as a global area. So in this instance we've got 1. Okay, and we've also got a project area, but at the moment we've got nothing because nothing's been created. So when you log into a project, it creates the AA, AB, AC as we create them, depending on what the WBS is that we select. So for instance, at the moment we've put into the database an AA, but we don't have an AA assembly. We don't have a top level project assembly. Those get created when you log into a project. So if we go up into the projects area and we click on project login, and under the project login we want to select the project we just created, and we also want to select the area that we've just added as well to it, which is the default area. And when we log in, we actually create the assembly for the project, and we create the folder structure, and we also create the area assembly in the process. So if we log in, okay, you'll notice that 2 assemblies have been created. You'll also notice that the project number's the first thing on the list, and then we have an area AA. So that's that assembly. Now I'm just going to close these off, and then the next one is obviously the project assembly, and I'll close that off as well. Alright, now what I'm going to do is show you what happened in the background. So we go into the 13, into the projects, into 1000. So this is the structure. Okay. When we created the project, it created the templates folder, and in there it's copied the templates. These templates can be modified. However, the only modifications that I would recommend after you've copied these in there would be only pictorial or the look and feel of the template. That means, you know, swapping out a project logo or something like that for the company or for a client, or putting in some text or something on the actual template. The last thing you want to do is fiddle with fields, because we've linked fields to the database now. Okay, so that's where the templates are stored for the project. You can update them, but they are limited to the updates. Now you'll notice there's a 1000 assembly that got created. There's also a 1000 AA folder, and in there we've also got the same name of an assembly to which we've created. Okay, now in this assembly, this is where we're going to put all of our weldment members and everything that we're going to model, okay, because we've picked this as an area. Now if you want to create multiple areas, there's a WBS manager. I'm going to show you that as well, so that you can see that the next step is. Now there are two ways of doing this. If you have multiple people working on a project and multiple people need areas to work on, this is how you would break your project down. Okay, now if it's a single person working on a single area, you wouldn't need to do what I'm about to do. Okay, so if we go up into the TSD projects and we go to the WBS manager and click on the project we've just created, which is that one, and you'll notice the area AA. So in here we can go AB if we put it in the WBS code, and we're going to create another area. So let's just go, well, global being the overall site. In this instance I'm just going to set up a basic mining structure so you can see how the structures would be put together if you're going to work on the same project with multiple people. So under a WBS name, we're going to put in primary crushing, and we're going to add that. And then we can go AC, and we'll go primary screening. Too many letters there. And then AD, we can go secondary crushing. So now we've got 4 areas that we can work on. Okay, they've just been added to the database and they are not created as yet. So if I go in, you can see that if I go to the project area in the filing system, there's nothing for them. So if I go into the projects again and click on project login and change the AA to an AB and log in, okay, you've seen the new project assembly being created there for the area. And if we go back down into the folder system, you'll now notice there is a folder there for AB and an assembly for AB. Alright, so we also need to go through and log into all the other areas. You can simultaneously do that to set everything up. So project login, AC, so we'll log into that, and then log into AD. And what we'll do is we'll go back and we'll log into the other areas as well, so AA. So all the assemblies are open. It doesn't recreate the assemblies once they've been created. It just opens up that assembly. So it's like a shortcut on your desktop once the assemblies have been created. So now I have all the 4 assemblies open, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to open up the top level assembly. We need to go into the right area. So we go into 1000 and we open up the top level assembly. Okay, so now we've got all of them in the top level assembly. Now the top level assembly is more for a lead designer on a major project. That's not an area, or I should say, that's not where people will be logging into, and usually it's where all the interfaces for all the different areas occur. So what we do, we isolate it so that it is unique, and what we do is we drop in every area, if you can imagine, into, and I'm going to do this in order. All I'm doing is just grabbing each file and I'm bringing it in and placing it into there. So just close it off. Now this area here, or should I say the project assembly, is where we store all the areas for the interfaces. Okay, So you can imagine that we've now got 4 areas in our project where we've gone global, primary crushing, primary screening and secondary crushing. So we've now set up the lead area, okay, and that's for managing interfaces between the items. Alternatively, in between each one of these areas, we could also have an area for a conveyor, if you're going to run a conveyor between the actual items as well, which is not what I've done. So a conveyor itself can be a complete area. Okay, now if you understand the SolidWorks principles, we would create a driving sketch next, and the driving sketch itself would be placed in all of these areas and this level as well. And the reason for that is because if I'm the lead project designer, I want to ensure that I have control over the driving sketch, so that when I do make a change, the rest of the other areas that people are working on will automatically update. Okay, it can also be detrimental if you're not careful about how you change your driving sketch. So the control belongs to the lead project designer. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to set it up so that we've got, and you'll notice that I've closed off all the areas. We're going to log in to a project area, so we'll log into AA, and I'm going to put a driving sketch in there and get ourselves started. Now with TSD 2013, for SolidWorks 2013 version 4 allows us to insert models, because we now have a model library which is going to be available for everyone to use who are customers. There is also a trial library which is for trialers, for people who want to trial TSD. I've got the customers library in place. So what this means is that I've got a little bit more to play with. Okay, so I'm going to put in a driving sketch into this model at AA. Okay, and to do that, I'm just setting a sketch up on the top plane with a point. Okay, you've always got to start with a sketch at some stage, and that point itself can be positioned anywhere. I've just put it on the origin. If I go up into my TSD members and I go to my frames area, I've got different frames in here that I can utilize, and all they are just driving sketches with basic SolidWorks fundamentals. If I pick on that particular driving sketch, which the trial has already built into it, pick on the sketch point, and then click the point, and then hit my tick, the frame comes in. Okay, so now we've set up area AA, and we've got ourselves a driving sketch to which we can start appending our welded members to. What you'll also notice is that when I inserted this into the project, there's a 1000 AA which follows on with the naming convention of the area, and then we've got this FR, which is a code for inserting members. We'll cover that in another demonstration so that you're aware of what's going on. But I'm just letting you know that there's an automated filing system that's happening. Okay, now this particular system here is set up for just one person working in one area, and if you've got a small structure like a tower or a building that you're working on, and you've allocated one person to working on it, this is absolutely fine just to set up and run with just this area. But if I want to work in a multi-user environment like the areas that we've just set up before, we've got to change the structure a little bit, and we've got to do this manually, primarily because it's a little bit more intricated. So what I'm going to do is this driving sketch here, which is, if I open it up, you can see that it's just standard SolidWorks features, set up a basic sketch using planes, and you can modify this sketch just within SolidWorks as you would normally. So there's no TSD functionality in here that sort of makes it a little bit unique, apart from a couple of things. The grid 1 is actually attached. Okay, so we need to remove attachments. So I'm just going to set this up for the multi-user environment. What I need to do first is just do a save as. Okay, I need to save it as a new name, and I'm going to put it in the top level assembly, and I'm going to call it DS01. This is the main driving sketch for the project. So I'm just going to save that. This grid 1, if we go in, we have to remove any links that are associated to external processes, because this is going to be the top level sketch. You probably find that there is one particular item in here that's got a link on it, and it's probably a length driven one. There we go, coincident. So we can remove that. Okay, so now I've got a driving sketch 1. I'm just going to close it off, and now I'm going to grab that driving sketch 1 and I'm going to drag it up so that it becomes part of the, we should be able to do this, either that or dissolve subassembly, which is another way of doing it. So we just save that. So now the assembly's gone. What I'm just going to do is just go and remove that assembly so that it doesn't influence or affect anything else. You'll also notice that when I inserted it, it created a members folder. So I'm just going to remove that so that that's not being used anymore. Okay. So now I have my driving sketch in here. Alright, so now we need to put the driving sketch in every one of those other assemblies to set this up. Now that's an area that someone can work in. You might want to get them doing the top floor. As an example, that can be a massive building in one floor. Okay, so we go to the next one, so we need to log into the next one, so we project log in. We get to AB, log into that, open the driving sketch, and we'll keep that driving sketch open, tile horizontal, and we just drop that in there. What we need to do now is just expand that out. Ensure that the origins match. If they don't, we need to make them so that they're identical, and they do, so that's okay through that process. So now we've got another area where someone can model the columns, or a grid, or a complete structure for a mine site, and so forth. Okay, so now we're going to log into the next area. So AC, do the same thing again, tile horizontal, drag that up into there, make sure the origins are identical, and they're not. For some particular reason, that was something that was in the previous versions where you could actually drag and drop and it would go over to the origins and lock them, but not in this instance. So I'm just hitting my shortcut key, and I'm hitting my paperclip, and with the aligned axis on, that's fine to keep it where it is. And last but not least, we log into area D and do the same thing there. Float that and grab the origins as well, and the paperclip comes up there as well, so you can use that. Align axes, hit your tick. Okay, now we've got one more place to put this, and that's at the top level assembly. Okay, now you'll notice that there's a little bit of an offset issue going on here in one of them. Obviously this one I think is in the wrong place because we didn't check that one. So I'll put those on top. Yeah, I lost the paper clip, so I'll just bring it back again. Yeah, that's okay. It must be the assemblies in the top level. Okay, all these aren't lined up. Yeah, it's funny how that functionality is now gone, where you used to be able to just drag and drop and it would line it straight back up on the origin. Obviously you want a common origin for all of your assemblies, and your driving sketches obviously have to be in the same place. If you don't do that, you'll end up with a bit of a mess as far as your intersections go. You don't want that happening. Okay. Alright, so we've covered those. Now we've also noticed that there's something else that's missing here. That one's fixed. That one there, we didn't float that and align the axes. Origin to origin. That should fix the whole lot now. So now we've got our assembly on top of one another. Also, because the lead designer is going to make changes to the driving sketch, we have to put the driving sketch in here as well. As you can see, for larger projects, you want to be able to set this up so that everyone has an influence at some level. Okay, and we'll also do the same thing with that one, origin to origin, and align the axes. You'll say, why have we got the driving sketches in the lower levels? That's because we're going to attach to those driving sketches. Now, if the project lead decides he wants to change the driving sketch, it will affect all the others as well in one go. So there's a little bit of mucking around setting up a multi-user environment, but once it's set up, it can be quite powerful in the way that you change things because of the parametric behavior of SolidWorks. So now we've set up the project, what we're going to do is just log into an area, and I'll just show you what you can do as far as the changes go. So AA Global, that's pretty much the assembly that we're after. One of the things that we ensure we do by default, because we've already set this up, this part is actually excluded from the BOM. You don't want the driving sketch to come into the BOM. So at this level, if we go into our TSD members and we go columns, we've got some columns in here that we can grab and just insert straight into a project. So we just pick a line and put it in. Okay, and you'll also notice the automated naming convention that's come in, so it's labelled it AA. So now I've got that. Now if I go over into, say, another area and I'm working on another grid, so let's just log into another area, and because this is all database driven and the items that we're logging into are all part of it, everyone can be working in a database environment, which allows the whole process to work as a joint process. So I'm going to go into AB, and someone could be working on AA now that I've just set that up and put that column in there, and then I'll just go I'll put a beam in this one so that you can see that the process is underway. So there's a beam. Now that beam obviously needs a bit of work to lock it down, put it in place so that it's finally fixed, but I've just got a column and a beam in a different area. I might be doing the floor in a different area. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and open up the top level assembly, right, which is this one. And as a lead project designer, you'll notice now I've got my two models in there at different in different assemblies. I can go in and change the driving sketch. So for instance, level 1 is this. Let's just say I want to make that 5 meters. So I can just adjust it by doing a Control Q, and it automatically updates. You'll notice that the column, everything updated, member automatically updated. So you can see the power of SolidWorks, and if it's set up right in a multi-user environment, all I need to get access to in this to update it is just the driving sketch as a project lead. Someone says to me I need to change the floor height, that means that I need to update all the models. Now if someone's in these lower models, I will not have them loaded in, but what will happen is if they are working at lower levels and logged into them, they will receive a message that the driving sketch has changed, and it'll ask you to if you want to do an update, and then everything around you that you've just modeled will automatically update. That's how a multi-user environment works within TSD. As a measure, basically you can, however, make this part read-only just to protect it so that no one at a lower level can modify it. And then when you get in, you untick it read-only, and then through the permission settings you can open it up and modify it, whereas others can't. So there are some protective measures that you can put in as well through a manual process of naming the files. So that pretty much covers the tutorial for today. As I said, if you've got any questions, please contact support@thesteeldetailer.com. If you want a bit more of a demonstration, or if you need any more sort of areas that you want covered, please just nominate one, and we'll put one in the demonstration for next week. And if there's a lot of interest in one area, we'll certainly go down that path. And certainly I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sitting here and watching me demonstrate TSD, and certainly look forward to catching you again another time. Okay, thank you.